Hey everybody, it's me, Andrew Markowitz. Little update on the mic. I've done some testing with my audio. It is my mic. It is in fact because it is an old, ancient mic, and it is slowly dying. That is the best thing that I can think of. I am going to try to fix it in postscript here as best as I can, but if I can't do it and I just have to leave this as is, I'm going to leave it as is. I apologize. I'm working on the issue. It's holidays are a tight time for budgeting for me, and it's not even because I'm buying gifts for people. It's because life likes to hit me hard on the holidays. That aside, Esmond Gold a day ago dropped the "Were the Crusades Justified?" and the video he has here I've already watched. I like this video quite a lot. I'm in this for Asmund's reaction and Asmund's thoughts in this. So, let's get into it, shall we? Let's see what the Roach King thinks of the true opinion of the Crusades, because I'll just give you mine right now. Yeah, the first probably 3 Crusades were absolutely justified, and you're gonna find out why. Hint, hint. Islam is the religion of the sword and was called that for many, many, many centuries before they ever, in the modern century, took up the name religion of peace.
Crusades justified? Was it a response to militarism and incursions into Europe by Muslim crusaders or Muslim fighters or not? I don't know. A lot of people view the Crusades as a bad thing, but this video says the Crusades were awesome, actually. Okay?
Yeah, no, they're
Let's hear it.
absolutely
In 2005, the film Kingdom of Heaven was released to the world. The film takes place during the major historical conflict.
I do need to watch Kingdom of Heaven. I've never finished the movie. I never could sit through the whole thing, and I don't know why. Maybe I was just too ADHD at the time. I've been getting better about that, so maybe I can this weekend.
Conflict between the Christian world and the Islamic world that we today call the Crusades.
I'm in the middle of my 6-day streak,
Beginning
so I
in
don't know about that.
1096, Catholic Europeans embarked on quests to retake the Holy Land and spread the faith to new areas of the globe.
Yep.
You would think that in a historical drama like this, we would get a fair portrayal of both sides, with the nuances of the conflict being shown. We don't. The film portrays the Christian Crusaders as bloodthirsty barbarians, while their Islamic opponents are shown as intelligent and peaceful.
To be fair, Saladin was very highly respected, even by Europeans. He was very highly respected.
So, that is true to a degree. Back then, Saladin was First Crusade, so I think for the most part, I think many of the people would have been mostly respecting of them. The hot take at the time here was actually that Christianity had this coming, this basically extinction by Islam is the best way I can describe it, this slow extinction by Islam, that we had this coming because we did the Pope was already in serious contention at this time already, and yeah, so there are a lot of people on that side of the aisle who are like, go Saladin, but not really go Saladin, if that makes sense. And then there was a lot of the Catholics and the Byzantines who are like, yeah, no, don't care that he's the nicest of these guys. Fuck that guy, because the people underneath this stuff are awful and terrible people. I'm gonna have to censor that out. Dang it. Ugh, gotta watch my language.
Now it should be
I'm
said
not saying all of them were, but he was.
that Ridley Scott, the director,
He was respected as a general, and he was respected to some degree on like his look on things for a degree. He wasn't really for much else. He was still just as ruthless as about any of them. Like, he's got his own writings and journals. Go give them a read. See what you think.
Of the film is an atheist, so we can see why he deliberately decided to portray things this way. But regardless of Scott's motivation, the portrayal of the Crusades in Kingdom of Heaven reflects how they've been understood by a majority of Westerners for decades.
That's true. I think that the perspective that a lot of Americans have is that the Crusades were they were European aggression towards the Middle East. I think this is accurate.
Yeah, I'd agree with that one.
Documentaries like the History Channel's Mankind, The Story of Us single out the Crusades as a uniquely evil chapter of human history.
I think of all the wars fought over religion. The Crusades belong in their own category.
I think all of the wars before Crusades belong in their own category. You got about 500 years that you're just casually ignoring, that like this entire series just casually skips, that are literally the 500 years of persecution and 500 years of Islamic expansion.
It is
Really? I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of crazy wars.
one of the most shameful undertakings ever embarked upon by...
I would disagree with that as well. I would very much say that the most shameful undertakings have been, hot take here again, socialism and communism. Why? Because they have stacked up more bodies in 1 century than any of these wars over 500 years.
our species.
So far.
In all of these cases, the same narrative is presented.
And I think actually I think the Crusaders were probably like this. I think this probably happened all the time, is that you had guys that spent 10 years down in the Middle East and they were G's. They had power, they had authority, they were well known, they were powerful, and then you told them, hey, you've got to go back home and go be a potato farmer again. And this guy says, bro, what the fuck? Like, I used to lead a fucking team of 20 guys. We used to raid villages. I used to...
That's not how that worked. That's not how that was. That's not how that worked. Yeah, no. That's... I'm glad we're gonna get into this.
Eat meat every day. Fuck this. I don't want to do that. Yeah.
Day, crazy Christians
that
decided
happened.
to attack the peaceful and
I mean,
enlightened...
it's so manifestly obvious that it was even the plot for Rambo, the First Blood. This has been the case ever since there have been cases.
in Islamic world, just...
I think that's a pretty gross misunderstanding of Rambo First Blood. Maybe I have a different perspective on that movie because I'm a vet. Rambo's case was that war severely changes you. It's not because we think it's cool, awesome, and manly. It's because of the graphic nature and the awful content that takes place within it. And the conditioning you go through in a military dramatically changes you as a man, and Special Forces even more so. Special Forces is a whole different category. I never went under Special Forces training. I've known guys who have. It's a whole different category of breed that they turn you into. Rambo's supposed to be a Green Beret. Going through that intensive amount of training will destroy you. It makes you inhuman. And coming back into a society where you're told you have to be human, that's going to be a tough one.
because they could. The events are held as a staple of why we need separation of church and state, and why Catholicism should have no place in government. We're led to believe that if Christians have power again, they'll
It's very obvious Catholicism does have a huge role in government. Like, I mean, the same way that, Muslim countries are generally, informed, their laws are informed by Sharia law and by their
I'm reading his chat.
own culture, in America and in Europe.
It's not Catholic. It's Catholic with a little c. If you know, you know.
It's generally informed by Christianity. Not entirely, but to an extent.
unnecessary wars of religion, just like the Crusades.
Yes.
But in reality, there are few events in history more misunderstood than the Crusades.
Really?
This is why I'm making this video.
Okay, let's see
The
it.
popular understanding of the Crusades is dead wrong, and I'm here to explain why.
All right, let's hear
In
it.
this video, you'll be finding out why the Crusades were not only morally justified, but were actually a historic achievement. Buckle up.
Yeah!
To cover.
Yeah, I love that look on his face. I
Let's
love that
travel
look.
back in time to 600 AD.
was a long time ago.
Roughly 500 years before the First Crusade. This is a map of the Christian world at that time. All the highlighted areas show where Christianity had spread and
Yeah.
become the majority religion.
That's a
Wait
lot.
a minute, is that the Middle East and North Africa? Yes, it is. These two
That's not a surprise at all.
Well, for you, Asmund, because you have more than 3 brain cells, it's not a surprise. For your average person in America, it actually is a surprise, because there are many nutcases on both the left and the right side of the aisles, and I'll just use those terms because they're the easier terms to use, who for some reason think that Christianity started, like, here in Rome, when Jesus Christ died in Jerusalem. You know, kind of a big deal of a difference of places, a couple, what, I think that's 1,000 miles or so, you know, just a small, tiny bit of difference. You know, just itty bitty difference. Itty bitty. Itty bitty.
Yeah, of course.
two areas used to be Christian.
Yeah.
People today think of these as Muslim lands, but that was not always
No.
the case. It all began when Christianity spread far and wide after being legalized by Emperor Constantine the Great with the Edict of Milan. This
Oh.
led to the
So we're gonna get into that real quick. FYI, it was Christianity being legalized, meaning Christians were no longer getting murdered. It's a pretty big deal. And a pretty nice thing, because before that, from the time of Jesus' death onwards, yeah, a lot of Roman emperors went about going about slaughtering them left and right. The apostles did not die nice deaths, boys and girls. They did not die nice deaths.
Christianization of both the Western and Eastern Roman Empire. Even as the western part of the empire fell to barbarians, Christianity remained, and most of the
Yeah.
barbarians also converted.
Yeah.
So if that
That's also true. Yeah, the Roman Empire basically fell apart. Christianity decided not to. Like, literally what basically happened is that the territory that Rome was actually able to keep was basically modern day Italy. And then everywhere else, Christianity was still spreading. And Christians were still going out, and Catholics even were still going out, and were still spreading the religion. They just couldn't hold the territory. But we didn't need to hold the territory. We just needed people to believe in our faith. That's what we really truly cared about back in the day, and that's what we wanted to spread. And slowly but surely, not through warfare, not through bloodshed, through talk, through sharing of knowledge and information, people converted.
happened in
See
Europe,
that?
what happened in the Middle East and North Africa? In the mid-600s, Arab warlords sprang out of the Arabian Peninsula and began conquering
Yep.
everything in their path. They brought with them their own religion, Islam, and unlike European barbarians,
Oh, shit.
they did not convert to Christianity. The Middle East at the time was dominated by 2 superpowers, the Christian Eastern Roman Empire, or the Byzantine Empire,
Yep.
and the Zoroastrian Sassanid Empire. Unfortunately for them
Zoroastrian
both, they had just fought each other in a gigantic war
Yep.
lasting 25 years
Holy
and had drained
shit.
themselves of key resources.
Yeah, so this is what allows for the fall of the Byzantine Empire, and also the quick, rapid rise of Islam, is that the 2 biggest empires of the time beat the crap out of each other, and when you give enough space...
Because of this, neither was prepared for the invasions that hit them. The Byzantines lost all of Africa and the Levant, while the Sassanid Empire collapsed completely.
Yup.
The most important loss
Oh my
for the Christian
God.
world, though, was the loss of the Holy Land. By 900 AD, Islam had expanded, by conquest, all the way to France and southern Italy. Now, I'm not
Yeah.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yep.
not going to moralize about this. Conquest and wars of expansion have been common all
I hope he's referencing what I think he was referencing there, because, yes, quite funny how that's been happening.
through history, and Islam followed in that same mold. However, Islam did take things a step further with its concept of jihad, or holy war. Muhammad was a conqueror who took slaves, and Islam has sought to emulate his example ever since. As a side note, this is also why slavery has always been common in the Islamic world and continues to be practiced there to this very day.
Yep.
But regardless of the
I hear that a lot. They have slaves still.
morality of
Yeah, they have slaves in Saudi Arabia, the place you want to keep going, Asvin. Please, go read and actually investigate Islam a little bit before you start going, yeah, I really want to go there.
the Islamic conquests, they were, nonetheless, invaders who invaded the Christian world.
Damn.
Christians in conquered lands were second-class citizens, and many were taken as slaves. Christian inhabitants
That's
had to pay an
very true.
enormous tax
There's a, yeah. Oh, he's gonna get it.
called the dhimmi tax, and their churches were often shut down. Because of Islamic policies,
Yep.
over the centuries, Christianity in the Middle East and North Africa shrunk from a large majority to a tiny minority. But it actually gets even worse.
How the Islamic escalation forced Christendom down.
During the days of
Is
the
this
Roman
true?
Empire,
Yeah.
the Mediterranean Sea was a breadbasket of commerce and trade.
Yeah, sure.
The Romans had successfully stamped out piracy and created some of the safest waterways in the entire world. Islamic
This
piracy
video's
Yep.
propaganda. Muhammad freed slaves.
That is not true at all. Oh my god, you are such a liar. Bro, there are literally passages that literally tell you to take slaves in the Quran. That literally teach you to. Don't lie. It is not propaganda. You're spreading propaganda. Dawah. Frickin' dawah, bro. Frickin' dawah. Every time. Blech.
Well, it's probably both. I mean, it's probably they have slaves in some cases. They don't have slaves in other cases.
No. 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 The Islamic slave trade was one of the largest, most prolific slave trades in the entire world, and was larger, longer lived, and longer lasting than the slave triangle in the Americas. And that whole period. African eunuchs were a very common thing. So, absolute bullcrap. No. Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, see, I don't believe any of that shit that I'm getting right now on Google because of the fact that, you know what, I'll just save that comment and questioning for David Wood. I will get on David Wood. Actually, better yet, hey. I'm already in some servers. Let me look at this. Theology chat. Okay. I'll let that question stew, and I'll probably post a comment on about it after. But I highly doubt this, considering like the actual history and story and everything else, and like everything that I know, nah.
That's probably what happened, realistically.
Heresy brought all of this to an end. From bases in
Yeah, you
North
just gotta
Africa
think about
and
it.
the Middle East, they turned
Yeah, I think it's more so along the lines, you were freed if you converted to Islam. If you didn't convert to Islam, they just took you as a slave.
the Mediterranean into an unsafe hellhole. This crashed the European economy and made
Wait, so you're telling me that all the way back then, they were going out and fucking with boats?
Yep.
And now they're still going out fucking with boats?
Yep.
This was literally over 1,000 years ago. They've been fucking with boats for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
1,000
Yeah.
years. Been dealing with these guys fucking with boats.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Europe a miserable place for commerce for almost
It's what they
400
do, yeah.
years. Islam's so-called Golden Age came at Europe and Christianity's expense.
Uh-oh.
This is the true reason that many consider the years 600 AD to 1000 AD a dark age for Europe.
Oh, that's 'cause of
It was
volcano.
literally cut off from the entire world and constantly under attack. It
Yep.
was in this hellish environment that Christendom finally started to have enough.
Uh-oh.
The first rumblings for a crusade came in 846 when an Arabic expedition to Sicily sailed up the Tiber River and sacked St. Peter's in Rome. A synod in France called for Christian sovereigns to rally against the enemies of Christ.
Yep.
Jesus.
And the Pope, Leo IV, offered a heavenly
Wait, don't we have a Pope Leo now? And wasn't Blackwater asking the new Pope Leo for money so they can help stop the attacks of Christians in... Oh my god.
Ah! He sees it. He
Dude.
sees it coming. He sees it coming, bro. He sees it
for
coming.
those who died fighting
Wow.
the Muslims. But it was around 1000 AD when things really escalated on multiple fronts. In the west, the Islamic Caliphate of Cordoba in Iberia began expanding north. It conquered, burned, and enslaved its way through multiple Christian cities, including Barcelona and Leon. It
Oh,
was this expansion
I know that
campaign
one.
that finally provoked the
Yeah.
Christian kingdoms to launch the Reconquista to retake Iberia from Islam. But if things looked rough in Western Christendom, they were even worse in the East. In the late 900s, a Central Asian Muslim group called the Seljuk Turks began migrating into
the
Anatolia.
Turks!
In 1064, they completely conquered Armenia and sacked its capital, Ani.
Holy
The city
shit.
never recovered from this
Yeah.
brutality and remains a ruin to this very day.
Wow.
Almost all of the Armenian population had to migrate southeast to Cilicia, creating an entire new kingdom called Cilician Armenia. In other words, Islam had made the Armenian homeland unlivable. The Turks then turned their expansion into the Byzantine Empire. They began invading western Anatolia in droves. The
Yep.
Byzantines tried to launch counterattacks, but were ultimately defeated at the Battle of Manzikert. After this defeat, Turks began mass migrating
I didn't
into
know this much shit happened before the Crusades. I had no
Oh,
idea
yeah.
about this.
There was a pile of shit
Anatolia,
that happened.
completely altered.
Yeah. That's what a lot of people always forget, is there was a pile of shit that was happening before we went, alright, screw you, we're done. Yep, we're done.
Altering its demographics. Another region of the Christian world had just become Islamic by force.
Man.
Here's how historian John J. O'Neill describes the circumstances. These, then, are the major political events which prefigured the First Crusade.
Uh-huh.
Within a span of 35 years, the Turks had seized control of Christian territories larger than the entire region of France.
Holy shit.
And now they were a
Yeah.
real threat to Europe.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. That's what a lot of people
Wow.
don't realize about these size of these territories.
Now, by this point, the Byzantine Empire realized it was incapable of stopping the Islamic hordes by itself. Emperor Alexius Comnenus made a desperate appeal to the Pope and Western Christendom for aid. This was a major deal, because Eastern and Western Christendom had been in schism for almost
Yeah,
50
sure.
years by this point.
So they
Yep.
came
the
together?
Catholic Pope and the Orthodox Patriarchs did not get along,
Right.
to put it lightly. But the issue had become that serious
They actually came... Damn.
that they were now
Yep.
willing to cooperate.
Damn.
What made matters even more urgent was the Turks had begun persecuting Christians.
What's funny is that I'm realizing is that a lot of this argumentation on that schism is semantics, and oh joy, do I probably have some of the hottest takes on the planet when it comes to some of the modern councils and things like that. And I honestly do consider a council to be modern past that point. Past 1050. Past 1000. Yep. That's where I start to consider them to be modern councils. And I got some hot takes that I'll probably be giving about that soon. I obviously need to do a little more reading and a little more researching before I really give those hot takes. But it's looking like I'm coming to a certain conclusion when it comes to all this stuff.
In pilgrims in the Holy Land, priests like Peter the Hermit,
No one's
who had
gonna
become
like
one
my
of the
voice
greatest
on that, by the
advocates
way.
of the Crusades, witnessed this first.
I'll put it to you this way. I'm still very much Christian when it comes to this stuff, but no side is going to like my opinion when it comes to this.
Firsthand. This is
Maybe the Protestants will. I don't know.
the geopolitical environment that led to the First Crusade being called. Now, does it seem unreasonable when you get all of this other context? This is what Catholic Europeans knew about Islam on the eve of the First Crusade. Muslims were enemies of Christ, they waged wars against non-combatants and enslaved women and children, and
Yes, yeah.
they had conquered all of Iberia, Anatolia, and threatened France and Italy. It was important that this all happened at the turn of the first millennia. By this time, the elites of Europe were finally starting to become much wealthier and better educated. They were developing a much stronger grasp of history and world affairs. Europe was safer and more interconnected than any time since the Roman Empire. They were beginning to truly understand just how much damage Islam had done to the Christian world, and how much of a civilizational threat it still represented. All the pieces were now in place for the Crusades to be launched.
So did the Pope actually just... Did he... I don't know how this happened,
In 1095, the moment had arrived. Pope Urban II called for the First Crusade to retake the Holy Land.
So he... Damn. So the Pope actually called for the Crusade.
Yep.
Oh, fuck.
And drive back Islam. It would be the first of many. An excerpt from Urban's Crusade speech reads, Your brethren who live in the East are in urgent need of your help, and you must hasten to give them the aid which has been promised them. The heathens have killed many, and they have destroyed churches and devastated the Greek Empire. If you permit them to continue with impunity, the faithful of God will be much more widely attacked by them. On this account, I, or rather the Lord, beseech you as Christ's heralds to
Bro.
Yeah, he got some baller
push
words
this everywhere, and to persuade all people of whatever rank to carry aid promptly to those Christians. Let therefore hatred depart from among you. Let your quarrels end. Let wars cease. And let all dissensions and controversies...
So they just said stop fighting amongst each other and just go over there and kill them?
Yep.
I mean, that usually works, to be fair.
Lumber.
Yeah, basically.
It's important to point out how Pope Urban's speech emphasized not only the defense of Christendom, but also the end of internal wars between Christian kingdoms. The Pope envisioned an international brotherhood of Catholics who fought not each other, but their external threats.
You hear that, guys? Catholics, not Protestants.
Yeah, that's because the Protestant Reformation wasn't until 1256? So, yeah, as when we're like 200 years early on that. Early. 1536. I'm thinking of 1256 because I'm thinking of Thomas Aquinas for some reason. Kind of a Protestant guy. Not really even a proto-Protestant yet. You get your first proto-Protestants in the 1100s, but it's not until the 1500s that you actually get Protestants. And these guys would be Catholic, but the determination of that for a part of it would be with a small c, is how that would be. And if you know what that means, you know what that means. If you don't know what that means, go learn what it means. Go look up what the word Catholic means in Greek, and you'll have a deeper meaning and understanding of this stuff.
In any case, the call for crusade was extremely well received. The news spread through all of Europe like wildfire. Tens of thousands of faithful Catholics all across Europe answered the Pope's call. Lowly peasants, ambitious knights, even kings. French, English, Flemish, German, people from all walks of life and all nationalities were inspired to fight for Christendom.
Damn.
It's not really appreciated how much of an accomplishment that this alone was.
Well, I think it probably makes sense in the context, right? Because these people were having their homelands attacked.
I mean, yeah, it is a massive accomplishment. I'm going to side tangent off Asmodel here. It is a massive accomplishment because France, Germany, England, Flemish, all of them had been beating the crap out of each other for like probably at least 200 years at this point, 300 years at this point, and they still go right back to it almost.
And like, I think that there's something that's going to go beyond just the religion. Whenever you're being invaded by an occupying force, you're going to generally be against that no matter what. Even if the occupying force is in some way benevolent or reasonable, you're still going to have people that will resist against it because they don't want to deal with it. Like now, well, in some cases, yeah. Sounds familiar? Yeah, it's common enemy, right? Exactly.
It's really...
Yep. Asmund is 100% right on that take. He often does have some pretty good takes. I gotta give it to the Roach King.
Something entirely unique in human history. The Catholic Church had created a multinational network that united Europeans of all stripes and ethnicities under a common faith with common goals. So many different Europeans being united by one religion and engaging in a civilization-wide struggle had not happened before and has not happened since.
God damn.
That is actually true.
Yeah, I didn't realize how historic this was, how big of a deal this was.
Catholicism achieved what hundreds of other religions...
And some people in chat are saying until now, no. If you're thinking of World War I and World War II, no. He's talking specifically in the context of this was same faith, same ideologies, same thought process, all of that. Bridging hands. And this isn't... This is a larger scale than even what took place in World War I and World War II, because this is all of Russia, all of Greece, all of every single country that you think in modern day now. Germany, France, England, Italy. Take the entire continent of Europe. Take Russia. And all of that stuff. And that's what united to say, no, not on our doorstep. Get back. So, no, you haven't ever seen this since. Like, this has never happened since. And, like, at the current stage right now, it'd be like 35-40%. Probably closer to like 30% of Russia. Of modern Russia.
religions and ideologies could not. And perhaps this is why our modern secular system demonizes the Crusades.
The voice.
Now, did every crusade always go the best it could have gone?
No, I bet there were tons of crusaders that were awful, right? It's the same as any war. I mean, any army, you're going to have guys that are awful and terrible that are inside of that group. I mean, that's not really anything that's unique or special. It's just common sense. Of course that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
No,
Duh.
of course not. Some crusades were huge successes, like the Reconquista, while others were dismal failures, like the Fourth Crusade.
Oh,
But even the failures are understandable in context. Crusaders were going halfway across the world to fight unfamiliar enemies on their own home turf. The logistics of the Crusades alone were a monumental undertaking.
Yeah, that shit's
and
hard to
despite
do.
all these challenges, the Christian force...
Well, it'd be hard to do in modern day. In these times, it's insane. Like, it can honestly be considered a miracle that it was pulled off.
Forces still often came out on top. The First Crusade could really only be qualified as a roaring success. Crusaders defeated almost every Muslim army they encountered and captured Jerusalem.
Wow.
For the first time in hundreds of years, the Holy Land was back under Christian control.
I read somewhere that the last time that like a Muslim force had a victory against a Christian force in Europe was actually with Saladin. Like that was the last time that it happened, even up to now.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of crazy. It's incorrect. I don't know if it's true or not, but like, yeah, it's hard to say.
The First Crusade also established Crusader states that would remain in the Middle East for another century. One crusade I personally like was the Sixth Crusade. Jerusalem had fallen back into Muslim hands, but they had started to fight each other in a civil war. Emperor Frederick II of the Holy Roman Empire negotiated a peaceful transfer of Jerusalem back into Christian rule. Jerusalem was retaken without a single drop of blood being spilled.
Oh, that's
a
nice.
decisive diplomatic victory, even
Nice.
if the Muslims would eventually take it back. As you can tell, during this time period, it was hard for just about anybody to hold on to Jerusalem for long. In the end, the Crusades secured Christendom's western flank and bought its eastern flank another 300.
Who's controlling Jerusalem right now? I actually don't even know.
Right now, if you want to consider it in context, the Jews. Ironically enough, in the middle of all this, the Jews retook it, and the Jews are amicable towards Christians and Muslims. So, yeah, that's an interesting thought process.
Who's controlling it?
Israel.
Israel.
It's back in, if you really want to think about it in context, it's back in the OG's hands. That's the best way I can think about it, is it back in the OG's hands.
So, the Muslims and the Christians fought over this, and fucking died. Millions of them died for this shit.
It wasn't. What were the numbers by the end of all the Crusades? I think it was like probably 3.5 million, I think, were the total casualties at the end of everything. Yeah, FYI. Small potatoes compared to World War I and World War II, isn't that? It was like 3 to 4.5 million that died when you add up all of the Crusades, all of the sides. 3.45 million. I think it's a little higher than that, but I know it doesn't go. I think that's the lowball estimate. I think the stupid mega highball estimate is like 10 million, which again barely even covers World War I and World War II. Doesn't even cover those. So yeah. The 19th century was the bloodiest century in human history. Just so you're aware.
And neither of them have this. Israel has the Jewish people have it now? Israel has it now? Is that right? So all this was for fucking nothing.
It wasn't for nothing, absolutely not. It actually did quite a lot, because if it had stayed in Muslim hands, the West probably wouldn't have been discovered until now.
They got third party. Wow. That's crazy.
100 years. It wasn't until the emergence of the Ottoman Empire in the 1300s that Islam once again threatened Europe. But even when that happened, Crusaders once again went out to stop them. The Crusade of Nicopolis and the Crusade of Varna are two big examples of this. While they didn't succeed in stopping the Ottomans, they did show that Christendom was still capable of uniting to fight common threats in the name of God. And in the end, 300 years later in the 1600s, Ottoman power would be broken by what was basically a crusade.
Ooh,
the Christian Holy League of Austria, Poland, Venice, and Russia united to defeat the Ottomans and drive them back from Europe. Despite all of this, some people say the Crusades failed. But did they? Europe was Christian when the Crusades were launched, and it's still majority Christian today, 1,000 years later, although it is secularizing due to modernist ideas.
That is true. That is true. It remained majority Christian up until very recently. Very recently did it maintain being Christian. And that was kind of the real goal. The real goal wasn't to get back and keep the Holy Land. That was kind of like whatever, like that's a side bonus. The real goal was push the dudes who are slaughtering us out of, France in Europe and keep them out. And they did a really good job at that.
Theologies. Ironically, it's only after the Pope lost his power to call crusades that Christianity started to decline.
Well, who said the Pope can't call a crusade? Who decided that?
A council. Again, I have many hot takes on the modern councils. The modern councils, I will just say this, right? As I read them, they get worse and worse, okay? They do. If you really want to know what that hot take was earlier, that hot take was this. Dude, after the first schism, I believe the Holy Spirit left a lot of these councils. I think that the Holy Spirit was mostly there in the Protestant Reformation. And it is a reformation, by the way. It is a call to reform and unify back together. So, Protestantism never meant to split and stay split. And that should stop being our goal. We've lived too long in the split. Okay? Hot take. We're going to go into a little bit of a rant here. We should have never stayed in the split. Okay? End of story, period. We should have never stayed in the split. The goal was reformation. And the problem has been reformation, ironically enough. We split entirely over semantics. We did not come to a conclusion at the end of a council. And since then, we have been in problems. We have had major problems. Christianity must become one church again. And honestly, it does not need to fall under any of the old banners. It needs to have another grand council of all of the sides, everyone coming together, everyone sitting down at the table, everyone throwing everything down, everyone taking biblical scripture, everyone reading it, everyone going, okay, does this line up? Okay, does this line up? Okay, this is what this thing says. This is what this person says. This is what this person says. Okay, this is. Stack the paper, stack the files, stack the things. It needs to be a Council of Nicaea, a real Council of Nicaea, the first Council of Nicaea, all over again. We are at the same state of needing a whole new Council of Nicaea from the get-go again. That's where I'm at in my faith. That's what I've read. That's what I've understood. Honestly, that would be my grand dream and goal as a Christian, is to get that to happen. Is a unification council of all of Christianity, of all of us sitting down around a table, taking all of our scholarship, all of our history, putting it down on the table, taking our spirit of man out of the situation, putting God first, Christ first in the situation, and the scriptures and words that we have, and discerning that. And seeing, where did man fall short in these? Where did man do good in these? And not stop deliberating, not coming to the conclusion, oh, we can't agree. No, that's not an option. Come to the agreement. We have to. Too many times we've been like, oh, we can't come to agreement, and we split apart. That's not what the Holy Spirit is. That's not Christ-like. And it bothers me that we keep doing this as Christians. It's not Christ-like for us to keep saying and condemning the other person who claims to be Christians. That's not what happened at the Council of Nicaea. And we've had this foul, stupid mentality ever since then. Ever since the Orthodox Catholic split. That is what I've learned so far researching the Orthodox Catholic split. Is we have had this foulment, this utter foulment of Christianity when it comes to these councils and using them properly. They stopped being used properly at that point. That is when they stopped being used properly. Every single thing since then has been a mistake to one degree or another. The only one that wasn't was the original intention of the Reformation, and even that fell short and shouldn't have. And it needs to get picked back up. And we need to look for reformation. We need to have reformation, guys. We need to have a true reformation of all of these sides. We have the capabilities. In the modern day, it would be so easy to set up. Our church leaders, your church leaders, everybody's church leaders, get your materials, get your piles together, put down your best men for the jobs. Sit down, debate, do not leave the room, and do not leave. There is no getting up and saying we can't agree. There is no, we must come to consensus. And until we do, this council is not over, this discussion is not over, until we come to consensus on who is right and who is wrong on these things. And it's not a victory over the other side. It is a matter of Christ. And that's what we should care about. And yeah. Rant over, I guess. But like, that's my ultimate dream and goal in going over all of this history, is to honestly prove that point and bang enough heads together and be a loud enough voice eventually that I can get that done. That would be my grand goal and dream. Because it needs to happen, or Christianity is going to continue to fracture and continue to fall apart, and it will wither, and it will nearly be dead by the time Christ actually shows up. And that is not the way I want the kingdom of God to be when Christ comes to reclaim it. I refuse to let that happen.
Yeah, who decided that the Pope can't do crusades anymore?
That comment's some fanboy, that's loud.
The Pope?
It wasn't Protestants. And it was a Pope that decided that.
Oh, so he could just change his mind.
Again, that's a big problem. That's where you can see the humanity and the problem of the Pope, is all I'm going to say. There's a reason why I'm not Catholic, and the biggest reason is the Pope. And how wishy-washy things get slowly over time.
Yeah, so like theoretically, you could have another crusade. Like this could happen.
In Europe. But
Asman's content-brained, and he's just like, I want a crusade because I want content for him.
when we look back at these events, history shows it's not a shameful chapter of Catholic history, but the total opposite. The Christian world defended itself and spread the faith abroad after hundreds and hundreds of years of abuse. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why the Crusades were awesome indeed.
There's a much longer video on this that a guy sits down and talks about all this stuff on, and it's a much cooler video, but this one was a pretty good one.
This has been Pax, and thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see more videos, please consider supporting the channel. Also, leave a comment.
I'm sorry, but like, I cannot get over the irony of the Muslims and the Christians fucking fought and killed each other over Jerusalem for like 1,000.
Again, it wasn't over Jerusalem. Jerusalem was part of the goal, but wasn't the true goal. The real goal of the Crusades was actually just to keep Islam out of Europe and to save and maintain the Byzantine Empire. That was the real goal. And it did that before the Byzantine Empire crumbled, transformed, and still stayed Christian, which was the major goal, was it still staying Christian land. That's what they really cared about. So even when it finally crumbled and fell and turned into the different things that it turned into, it stayed Christian. That was the major goal. The major goal wasn't to reconquer the Holy Land. That was a bonus. That was pushing into the territories, trying to keep Christians alive in that area.
Years, and now the Jews have it. Neither of us have it. It's the Jews that have it now. That's crazy.
And letting me know.
And it really can. So the thing about Jerusalem is by UN status, I think it is, it's considered neutral territory. So it isn't even actually owned by Israel.
Your thoughts on everything.
Yeah.
As always, I will.
Okay. Well, that's gonna be it for me on this video. I hope you guys like that hot take at the end. For now, like, subscribe. God bless. Definitely enjoyed the Roach King's take on this.